Hi, I'm David Zahn, and I'm glad you could join me on this session. If you're here live, please put down into the comments here. And if you're listening to this on recording, please put recording down in the comments section as well. Love to have some feedback from you on what you think of this presentation, any questions you may have that we could follow up on. Very interested in helping you as we discuss and talk about some of the common hurdles that get in the way of people launching their businesses. So, we'll discuss some of the things that in the puzzle of entrepreneurship, some of those missing pieces, and what we can do to reclaim them to complete the puzzle. So, let's get started. The first one to talk about is not having clarity on your target market. This is really perhaps the most important thing that new entrepreneurs need to do and need to do very effectively and efficiently. This is, I would say, really the biggest hurdle that often trips people up when they're starting a new business. They're uncertain of exactly who it is that they serve, who is part of their universe of target market, and who perhaps is outside of that. If you attempt to be all things to all people, in fact, you become nothing to everybody. So it's much more important that you identify who you are, in fact, hoping to provide with a product or a service. In order to do that, though, you must really go native. You must understand what are their issues, problems, headaches, the so called pebbles in their shoes that they're really hoping could get eliminated or addressed in one way or another. Do you offer a solution to whatever it is that they are hoping to achieve or accomplish, what it is that they desire or wish could be reality that, in fact, right now, they don't seem to have a handle on? Once you do that, you're a long way towards really focusing on what the appropriate offer should be, what your product or service would need to provide, and how best to deliver it. The second thing to discuss with you: if you don't have enough customers, you have a brilliant idea, a brilliant product, a wonderful service, but it's not generating the kind of customer traffic that you would need or anticipate. Well, it's a trite expression, but there are riches in niches. And by that I mean to really be somewhat of a specialist. What is it that you are most conversant in or most comfortable in discussing? What is the field, the industry, the opportunities that you know the most about and can offer the most assistance in? If you're attempting again to just be the jack of all trades, you wind up being master of none. And it's probably somewhat obvious and intuitive to us, but in the medical field, it's the specialists who are held in highest regard and make the most money. The generalists, while very effective at their job, don't generate the same level of respect and the same income as the specialists. Of course, if you are too specific and too narrow, you may in fact hamper your potential success. Yet, there has to be a market sufficient to pursue. Don't be so narrow that you're unable to make a business out of it. I was joking with a friend of mine who's a New York City physician about this very concept. And she shared, "So you mean I shouldn't be a rhino gore wounds expert in my New York City practice?" And it was said purely tongue in cheek, but that's absolutely correct. The chances that she would have an opportunity to treat rhinoceros gore wounds in a New York City practice, very, very limited, not likely to be a successful way to do business. This one, I want to go full screen size so you can see it in its entirety. Here, what we're talking about is lack of pipeline being the number of potentials that you start with until you actually get to the closing of a sales call and a client or customer. So the way this would work is that you have to start with what exactly is your sales goal. To use an example we can all reach for, you can try to be Tiffany's, which is a high-end jewelry store that really has high margin, doesn't need to make a whole lot of transactions in order to make their sales goal. Or you can be Costco or Walmart, where you have to do a lot of transactions at a low margin, and the volume of the business is what leads to the high profit. So start with what exactly is your sales goal and work our way up. How many transactions have to occur in order for you to reach your sales goal? So, what is the average amount of a sale that you seek? And how many of those would be needed in order to reach your sales goal? In order to get to the yes, I agree, I want to be a customer or a client, in essence, closing the sale, how many proposals or offers do you need to make in order to get a single yes answer? After that, how many opportunities need to come your way that get to the point of someone saying, send me a proposal, or that you believe it's appropriate to provide a quote for a product or service? If it's a multi sales call kind of business that you're in, you may also want to know how many initial meetings need to occur. And maybe your business would be one that requires 3 or 4 sales calls. So, how many sales calls, how many initial meetings would need to be completed in order to identify someone as a legitimate opportunity, a prospect? How many of those prospects would you then need to submit a proposal to? And then how many of those would you need to actually close in order to reach your sales goal? Now, moving up to number 6, how many connections do you need that may or may not lead to actually an initial meeting? Maybe you sent out emails, maybe you met them at a networking event. How many of those touches would you require in order to reach an initial meeting? And then how many of those, of course, go into opportunities, proposals, and closed? And then how many call attempts do you need in order to even get to the connection, someone willing to pick up the phone or who responds to your email or gives you some time at your social engagement, network meeting, etc. As you can see, it's not simply snap your fingers and you close the sale, but you have to give real thought to what is my ultimate goal? How many of those do I need to send proposals to? How many people do I need to engage in some kind of a dialogue discussion so that they can be ready and agreeable to even receiving the proposal, etc. So there's a lot that goes into determining what is the appropriate pipeline in order for you to reach your sales goal. You need to be realistic about this. The next thing to discuss is you may have a current customer, but they don't generate enough revenue. They don't buy enough, in essence. So I would counsel you, do you know your costs? Maybe there's an opportunity to reduce your embedded costs, be they fixed costs or variable costs. And we can discuss the difference in a future session if that's of interest to you. But the idea here being, do you know what it really costs you to create product or service? Do you know what your break even is? How many sales would you require at what profit margin in order for you to cover your costs and make the first penny or nickel of profit? Are there perhaps opportunities for you to bundle various products or services of yours to create a larger scale project that might, in essence, be more profitable? And then, are you missing opportunities to upsell? Do you just accept immediately that someone wants your lowest margin offering? Or are you able to discuss how perhaps another combination of your product and services may be a better fit for this particular prospect, potential customer, and generate a higher amount of ring, if you will, initial sale to this prospect so that you can make additional monies on the sale. Number 5 would be a lack of repeat business. Is it they try and die? Certainly not a helpful way to go about generating business if they take the first opportunity to make a purchase and never return. So, are you living up to your brand promise? Are you delivering what people expect? We'll talk a lot more about brand in another one of these discussion points. But for now, think about, are there operational issues you need to address? Do you promise delivery by Monday, but it takes you until Thursday to deliver? Do you deliver partial product or service because you've run out of time, or any other of a host of operational issues that may generate dissatisfaction amongst your customer base? Is your quality consistent? The pizza made at 5 p.m. is delicious, but then you grow tired and the pizza you make at 7 p.m. perhaps is less tasty, just as an example. So are you consistent in the quality that you're offering, or is it hit or miss? One of the phrases that I often use in coaching my clients is I tell them to think of the third sale before providing the first. Now, I want to be careful here. I'm not suggesting that you don't work towards the first sale and keep your focus there, but in any relationship you're going to develop, and it's important that we think in terms of relationship, it's not a one and done. Think about how you can continue to add value to your prospect or customer beyond their initial purchase. Are there other things you can offer that would be of value or enhance the current value of that first purchase? So think of other ways that you can contribute to the satisfaction of the customer. Number 6 would be, is the market so competitive that it's keeping you somewhat hostage? So here, are you the first and only into the marketplace? Or are you just simply a me too who's replicating what others have done? In which case, there's really no added value. Is your market potentially growing, or is it shrinking or contracting? You could be a suitable provider of a very small market that's getting even smaller, and the opportunities for you to grow obviously will shrink with that contraction. Are there high barriers to entry? Can anybody, in essence, hang out a shingle and compete with you? Or does it require licensure or inroads that very few have that are able to meet or match those that are already embedded in the market? These are all thoughts that you've got to consider, and we can discuss ways to overcome them if, in fact, you are in a very competitive market. Number 7 is lack of referrals. Do people who are your customers keep it to themselves? If you are relying on word of mouth, are you making it easy for them to pass the name of your business, your phone number, your email, your website on to others? Don't rely on them to do the heavy lifting and the hard work to do that without you giving them assistance. So if it means handing out brochures or sending emails or offering incentives to have people pass along your information to others who may be interested, do it. And in fact, one of the tricks that often gets overlooked is simply asking your current customers, do you know anyone who could use my product or my service? Do you talk to your friends and family? I know many of us probably just winced when I said that. And you thought, thinking to yourself, I could not ask my friends and family. That's just not who I am, and that seems rude. Well, it's not. If you explain what your new business idea is, if it's simply an idea, or what your new business is, if it's in fact operational, and asking them, would you have anybody that is in your social circle, neighbors, coworkers, people that belong to the same social or religious organizations who might have an interest in what I offer? It's not being oppressive to them. You're simply asking, do you know anyone who could use my product or service? If you rely on advertising of one kind or another, are you in fact advertising in the places that your target audience would tend to have occasion to come across it? So that's why it's really important that we go back to, do you know your target market? Do you know what audience you're looking to approach? Only then would you be able to really hone in on what appropriate advertising vehicles would be the best match. And then, does the advertisement properly represent the business? If your business is one that is a humorous product offering, you wouldn't want to have a very serious advertisement. If, per se, you're a funeral parlor, that's not typically the place for humor. So, is the advertisement aligned with the kind of business that you represent? Would somebody understand how the advertisement's message coincides with what the business is designed to provide? The answer is no. Rethink what it is that you're doing from an advertising perspective. Are you using the right or the wrong messaging channel? Just like number 7, where we talked about making sure the target audience gets to see your message, be certain that you are in the right places. All of you have come to this webinar from a Facebook ad. I attracted you by posting an advertisement in Facebook. I didn't go into other social media challenges. I did not post on Instagram. I didn't even post on LinkedIn because my target audience tends to be heavily concentrated on Facebook and not other social media and not other places where they're likely to come across it. So you also want to be certain that people are receptive to the message you're sending. And I gave a couple of examples, one being more serious than the other. The first one, if you're advertising your college essay writing business, probably not the best place to put that in AARP, the magazine, because the readership there is not likely to need that particular service. Now, sure, there may be an occasional grandparent that wants to help out a grandchild in their college essay, but that's going to be few and far between. You'll probably spend an awful lot of money for a very low return if that were to be the advertising channel you chose. Similarly, I don't think you'd want to be advertising burial plots in the American Cancer Society newsletter. It's not the place for that kind of an advertisement. There are other places where people would be more receptive potentially to seeing your ad and reacting to it. Next is poor lead conversion. You may be generating interest, but it doesn't lead to business itself. Well, why is that? Are you getting people that ghost you? That means they have an initial contact and then you never hear from them again, even if you follow up with them with phone calls, texts, emails, etc. Suddenly, they've gone deaf and blind to anything that you're trying to communicate with them. There could be an issue where your offer is confusing to them. Maybe they don't really understand what it is that they're going to benefit as a result of working with your particular business or with you directly. So you'd want to be certain that if you're talking to a lot of people, but few are actually converting into a customer or a client. Reach out to them, for those that will at least respond, and ask, why did you choose not to go with me? Was it that you decided not to go with anybody, which is a no decision, which frankly is very common? Or did they go to a competitor? Maybe you confuse them with too many options. That's also very commonly done. The entrepreneur thinks, well, if you don't like option A, how about option B? If option B doesn't meet your needs, I can also do option C. And then if that's still not right, I can do option D. And you just confuse people with, I'm not even certain what's right for me. And I'll just think about this later. And later never comes. So if you can, go back to that pipeline and look to see at what point are you losing people, or what I call leaking. They go into the funnel, but somehow they don't complete it and they fall out. What is the step that they're falling out at? And then you can address that specific step and firm it up so that it doesn't have as much leakage occurring. Number 10, is your messaging poor? Are you confusing your prospects to the point that they don't really know what it is that they're supposed to do? What are the action steps you're asking somebody to take? Is it click on this button and you get a downloadable file? Is it I should be making a scheduled call with somebody? Do I sign the contract? What are the steps required in order for the prospect to become a customer? Also, does your target audience see themselves in whatever it is that you're offering? Does it meet their need? Does it provide them with a benefit that's worthwhile to them to consider pursuing? And as I had mentioned, maybe you offer too many things. It seems counterintuitive, but the more variables we put before our prospects, the less certain they are of what decision to make. So you wouldn't think it would be the case, but if you limit to just 2 or 3, it actually increases sales, as opposed to offering 5, 6, or 7 different ways to engage in business. And are you selling or marketing yourself by leading with what you do, the steps to your process, the things that you provide, and not the benefits that the prospect will receive? What does your prospect gain? Don't tell them the recipe. They want to be served the meal. They're less interested in how you do what you do typically than in knowing what it is that they're going to get as a result of whatever voodoo and magic you do in order to provide that product or service. If they're curious, they will ask, how do you do that? But until they ask, I wouldn't lead with, we do step 1 and then step 2, and then we follow that with steps 3 and 4. And I'll make it very personal. My career has been in education and corporate training. I don't talk about how I will do an assessment. It's less important. Am I going to do face-to-face interviews? Am I going to do surveys? Am I going to do observations of performance? Rather, I say that I will provide your sales team with a quicker way to close a sale. That's what the vice president of sales wants to hear. I offer coaching to help people transition from a teaching position into their own business. You likely don't care as much. Does that mean it's going to be an online course or telephone support or a workbook? We'll get to that if and when there's interest in transitioning from the classroom to the boardroom. You want to be in your own business. That's what's important, not necessarily how we do what we do. For number 11, are you in any way unique? If you're just a me too, then there's little reason for someone to go with a new entrant into the market. They know who's established, they know what to expect, and unless you're offering something better, there's not a whole lot of reason for somebody to switch or to engage with you. So think long and hard and market yourself. How are you better? What is it that you are providing or offering that others do not currently? And think in terms of your prospect. What are they going to be able to accomplish and achieve? That's an improvement over what they could perhaps purchase from someone else. And always think in terms of why should you be the one that they choose? Why should they trust their time, energy, money, and effort with you versus some other provider or vendor? So if you're trying to wrap your arms around, well, what could I possibly be offering? The benefits are things like you're faster, you're more accurate. If it's a food item, the taste sensation is an improvement. Maybe it's healthier. You have better customer service, more immediate response time. What insights do you have from your education or experience that others are lacking? And you can bring that into your product or service. Is there something that you and you alone can provide? Those are the kinds of benefits that are likely to get the attention of your prospect to convert them into a customer. So, what is your competitive advantage? If you don't have one, we need to find one for you. Are you simply another entrant or a me too? In which case, the only lever you have to pull is the price. And that's a race to being bankrupt because you'll have forever have to discount lower and lower and lower. If your sole contribution is that you are mimicking what the leader in the category is, your competition in the market, it's no way to win. If you've ever played the game of chess, if all you do is the repeat of what your opponent does, you're always one step behind and you're not thinking strategically. You're reacting as opposed to being proactive, and it's almost a guarantee you're going to lose. You need to strike out and do something that's going to be different than what others are doing in order to attract attention. And that may actually mean you narrow who would be interested in your product or service because they don't want that kind of an approach. However, if you choose correctly, you're going to find raving fans who do want exactly what you're offering. So if you do come across people who say, no, that's not right, I wouldn't want to do it that way, or that's not the benefit that I seek, listen, but it doesn't mean you have to change what you're offering until you get a groundswell of people saying that. It's okay if some people don't like your approach or what it is that you're guaranteeing, if there are others who are adoring that and seeking that. So think in terms of what is an approach you can use that you and you alone are offering. Is there some way that you can make your product or service guaranteed to succeed? Whether that means money back, whether it means that you're going to offer additional technical support and maintenance, any of those things would work in generating some form of uniqueness. Is there a result that you offer that others cannot match? And are you the only one in the market who's able to do this particular offer, whatever that may be? Are you the first? Are you the only one? Those are the kinds of things that are going to separate you from others in the market. So as we approach numbers 13, 14, 15, hopefully you're getting a lot of value out of this. Let's see what number 13 says. For many entrepreneurs, and certainly for many teachers, the idea of selling causes them to immediately wince. They don't see themselves as a salesperson. They have probably formed an image in their mind of a salesperson as being pushy, manipulative, say anything to get the deal, and it doesn't align with their own professional image. They think to themselves, I would never want to be associated with that, what a salesperson does. No, no, no. I believe in a meritocracy. I am going to provide a good product or a service, and it should sell itself. Well, if you do in fact believe that, you're going to miss out on an entire universe of potential sales. It is vital that you're able to develop sales skills. And truth be told, good sales skills are non manipulative. There's no trickery. You are helping people address their particular issues, problems, headaches, pebbles in their shoe, so to speak, all of those concerns we had referenced earlier. And you, as a teacher, already do that well. You're used to helping people unlock their understanding of concepts, of issues and problems that they've addressed. So it's just taking those same skills and applying it to your customer or client's needs. So think to yourself, I can do this, because the truth is you already do. Number 4, do you have a weak brand? And I had mentioned in one of our earlier steps that the brand was an important component in starting a business. Brand is not your colorful artistic logo, and it's not the whiz bang gang technology of your website. That's not your brand. Your brand is the promise that you make. What is it that people should expect, anticipate, rely upon when they do business with you? What is it that you represent or stand for? And a couple of the examples I provide, we've all gone to some fast food restaurant. When you go into a McDonald's, you know it's going to be consistent. You know exactly what you're getting. Could be on one side of the continent to the other, across town, doesn't matter, Monday versus Friday, you're going to get the same meal if you order that very same meal. It's going to taste exactly like it did the last time and the next time. It's going to be consistent, fast, and inexpensive. You're not going to expect it to be anything other than what it is. You'll know the menu ahead of time. You'll know the taste that you can expect as a result of ordering from it. Here in the States, there's a department store, Nordstrom's, which is known for having excellent customer service. There's even a story that goes around that they will accept returns on any product, whether there's been a receipt provided or not. If you bought it at Nordstrom's, you can return it if it's not satisfactory, even if it's worn or torn or broken. Well, there's one story that goes that someone came and returned car tires to their local Nordstrom's. They accepted it. However, they don't sell car tires. But because they so highly value their customer service and supporting those that shop their stores, they made a decision to accept back a product that they don't even sell, in the anticipation that that same customer would return to the store and make additional purchases that would more than make up for it. I don't know how true that story is, but it's one that's gone around and around and around often when people talk about brand strategy. Also, IBM is a company that has as a reputation, no one ever gets fired if they pick IBM equipment. It is the safe choice. It may not be the most technologically advanced of all the competitors in any given category of electronics and computing, but it is reliable. You'll know exactly what you're going to get when you purchase an IBM machine of one kind or another. So these are just some brand examples. You can probably think of a whole host of others that would be uh, top of mind for you when you think of that company, Company X. You immediately conjure up a particular image that suits or fits your experience or your anticipated experience from that business. The last one I'll share with you, and I saved it for last because unfortunately it's very often the first thing that an entrepreneur reaches for when they think about their business strategy. And in fact, it is not nearly the first thing that should be considered, and that's pricing. Your product or your service should be consistently in one of these three. Either it's a premium, where you're offering higher value or higher perceived value in the eyes and minds of your prospects. It's competitive, it's market standard, or it's the inexpensive, cheap offer. And there's nothing wrong with being any of those three, but you have to be consistent. If you're going to claim to be the premium, you'd better be offering more perceived value than others in the market. If you're going to be the inexpensive or cheap offering, then it wouldn't make sense for you to add some incremental value that won't be appreciated because the customer has in their mind this is the low cost option, and you're going to confuse them with, no, I'm getting more than low cost. There must be something wrong or something inconsistent here. So you want to be certain that you are aligned in your pricing strategy with the rest of the business. Is it consistent with the brand? Is it consistent with the operating strategies so that you're producing and providing the product and service that is consistent with your pricing? Last word here on discounting. It is very common for an entrepreneur, and frankly, even an established business, to offer a discount in order to get a sale. The potential hazard to doing that is that you form in the mind of your prospect or customer, that's what this product or service is worth. If you reduce the price alone, it can run the risk of forming that is now the baseline. That's what I will pay for this product or service forevermore because the company offered it at that. What I would recommend as opposed to discounting is reducing value or adding more value. So in my own business, I offer one-on-one coaching. For someone who doesn't want one-on-one coaching, I'll also provide online courses that do not have that individual attention. I offer something that's different, of lesser value at a lesser price. So I'm not going to discount my coaching because there's a true value that I'm providing, and it's not worth it to me to reduce the price of that. But I do want to make sales for those that are unable to pay for one-on-one coaching. So I do offer online exclusive courses. We can talk a lot more about this kind of pricing strategy if you're ready to do that in your own business. And if you do, in fact, want to talk about how you and I can work together to improve your business situation, there are two ways for you to reach me. One is you can send me an email at davidzahn@oknowwhat.biz, or you can click on that link, and I'm going to put that in the comments section so it's easier for you to just copy that link and then use it as you wish. So I'd like to thank you for your attendance and participation in this session. I hope you found a lot of value. I know I enjoyed discussing it with you and look forward to being able to talk further with you about your business ideas and how to bring it to the market, or if you're already in the market, how to help it to grow. Thank you again, and look forward to connecting with you at another webinar.